You're listening to Three Kitchens podcast, hosted by Erin Walker and Heather Dyer.
We're home cooks, sharing our kitchen adventures with you. Let's all get inspired, cook better, and eat great food. Are you ready for more food?
Always ready for food. Are you kidding me?
Always and forever. All right.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, welcome back to Three Kitchens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Erin Walker, and I'm joined by my lovely friend, Heather Dyer, and co-host.
Hello. And Erin's making food today, so I'm always even happier when I'm in this seat because I know good food is coming my way.
The hardest part is waiting once you find out what it is, right? You're like,
oh,
this
and then
sounds amazing.
When are you making it today? Yeah.
I'm not making this today for sure.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. You'll have to wait.
That's all right. Manage my expectations.
I've got a tasty lunch for us because I think you could have it as like a light dinner, nothing big, nothing heavy, or if you've gone out and done something and you just want something simple, I think this is a good little lunch or dinner to have with a friend maybe.
Okay.
I love soup. Do you love soup as much as...
Yes. Who doesn't love soup? And it's one of the best things because it's everything in one bowl.
I love a good soup. And I keep passing this. So a couple months back, I made Australian lamington cakes at the beginning of the year. And so the recipe that I got was from the Australian Woman's Weekly book from my mom from the 70s. And I started going through the cookbooks on my shelf, and lo and behold, I have an Australian Woman's Weekly cookbook from current day, a current day one. It's called Eating Well, and it is a beautiful cookbook, and it's got a whole bunch of vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, nut-free, different seeds, different flavors, a whole
how times
fun
changed from like the 70s version of that cookbook when nobody had sensitivities to anything.
I don't think there's a single jellied thing in here.
Yeah, that too.
For lunch today, we're going to explore a yellow dal soup with spinach.
Oh, yum.
And because I feel like when you have soup, what do you have to have on the side, Heather?
Bread, crackers, a sandwich.
A sandwich. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay,
soup and
cool.
Sandwich. Just had to wait till you said the right thing. So I'm going to make, also in this book, toast with avocado, tahini, and sumac tomatoes. So eons ago, and I can't even remember why, we bought sumac. Oh, it was to make ambasauce. Isn't there sumac in ambasauce?
I think there is. Oh gosh,
sumac is one of those. Yeah.
Speaking of sandwiches, oh my God, that was a good one. The sabich.
Yeah, the sabich.
The Israeli sabich.
I have mangoes in my fridge right now. I'm also going to make some of that up. Okay, back on this road. I saw this, and sumac is one of those things in my cupboard that I'm like, I bought this, and now I don't know what to do with it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't come up frequently in any of the other recipes that I try or have, or I'm not well versed with it enough to know when I can use it or where I can use it.
So I feel like you either see a recipe with sumac in the title of it, like it's sumac onions, or it's either the star of the recipe, or it's hidden in stuff and you didn't realize until you get down through it and you're like, oh, there's sumac in here.
Yeah.
And I think it's in terms of like when you could just wing it and use it, it's like a substitute if you need citrus, a citrusy flavor. Like if it calls for lemon zest and you absolutely don't have it, you could try sumac and get a similar type of flavor of it. It's not as intense. It's not going to be like quite the same, but I think, I'm no expert.
So let's start with this toast. It is on sourdough bread. And I've been on a kick of sourdough, and I keep trying and I keep trying, and I'm constantly messing that up. But, I'm narrowing down one of the 45 things that could be going wrong when I make my sourdough.
I love how recently you had a question and you put it on
yeah.
social media. And our former guest who came on to teach us all about
Yes.
sourdough bread, Larry Harris, he came back with so many tips and ideas and suggestions for you.
He
It's
came
like,
back with one of 30 things that could have gone wrong and was
Yeah.
like, well, here you go. Try and narrow it down, sucker. No. No, it was definitely helpful. And I was able to go back to his video on how to fold the sourdough because that might be part of the issue that I'm having. So I went back and I checked that out. So hopefully I should have a nice piece of sourdough bread for you, Heather.
Ooh, love it.
And then we're going to roast some tomatoes on a tray, cut side up, sprinkled with sumac and oil until they're nice and soft. And then we're going to make a garlic yogurt tahini and juice, lemon juice. I was like, juice? What kind of juice? All right. I'm not reading this for the first time. I promise you. I'm just that smart. So we're going to have a garlic yogurt tahini and lemon juice spread. And then some slices of avocado and these tomatoes on top of this toast. And that's going to be delicious.
So already you're baking sourdough bread, you're roasting tomatoes, and then you still have soup to do.
Well, I'm making bread all the time, so you're just going to get some bread.
Could be day old. It's fine.
Oh, it's going to be
3-day old. It's fine.
We'll see. I'll see if I can time it so that the day that I make my sourdough, or that I bake my sourdough, is the day that I make soup, and we have all the good stuff. But honestly, you can toast that stuff up and you don't know that it's a day old. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I was just kidding. You don't have to do it all at once. I was actually like, how will you have time for lunch? Like, what's happening here?
Oh, well, I mean, you've got all these things going. You just whip it all together magically in the end, right?
Sure.
And then for this soup, I love me a lentil soup. I'm really into all the different pulses and beans, and I can't get enough of it. And I keep going past these boxes of like pre-made or pre-packaged soups for a Yellow Dahl or and I was like, no, I want to make this from scratch. And when I came across this recipe, I thought, this is my chance to do it. So in a hot pan, you're going to heat up olive oil, and then it has a bunch of seeds and spices that you put into the oil to cook up. So those are cumin seeds, which, we love, ground turmeric, ground chilli, some shallots. I think I'm just going to use a red onion. The shallots were like $8.
Oh, I know. They're insane.
Okay. Some garlic, ginger, and then some green chilies. So I'm not sure. I bought some Anaheim peppers because I saw them on the shelf and thought, maybe we'll try those.
Those are the bigger ones, right?
They're like, they're not dark and big like the poblano peppers, but they're kind of a lighter green and thinner and longer.
Oh, okay.
All right. And then yellow lentils, 5 cups of water, and then some spinach that you're going to put in there at the end just to wilt.
And is this a relatively quick soup? It's not the kind of thing that simmers all day?
No, you're gonna fry up these spices. You're gonna add in your garlic, ginger, chilies, and all that other stuff. And then pop your lentils in there, add your broth or water, cook for 30 minutes, and then season. So I think this passes as a lunch item because you can get your soup going. It's going to cook for 30 minutes, which, if you remember from a few minutes ago, is exactly how long I need to roast my tomatoes for. So when your soup's done, you pop your tomatoes out onto that toast. You've made your garlic, or you've made your tahini yogurt spread. You've got your avocado ready to go. You serve this up on the side.
Oh, this sounds so good.
If you just want to have a light dinner or you want something a little different for lunch, I think this will be a good way to do it.
Yummy. I'm here for it.
If you want, you can replace 3 out of the 5 cups of water with vegetable stock. So I could make this with a chicken stock or a beef stock if I wanted to. I'm not 100% sure where I'll go on that, but maybe I'll put some stock in here instead of just water to up the flavors.
I always think it does taste a little better if you have the option of a stock instead of water.
Yeah,
Water's
that's how
like
I feel too.
well, if I don't have any broth handy, then I guess I can use water, but that's like not the preferred.
That's kind of how I feel too. I always like to use a broth. And I bought yellow lentils, but there were a few different kinds at the store. So I was really happy that I had looked at this beforehand because they had in brackets that it is the chana dal. And there were a whole bunch of different types of dal or split pea, split seed, dried lentils at the store. So I was happy that I looked at that name when I went to go get these.
It can be a little confusing if you're not used to it. I don't have a lot of experience with pulses like these because even though I really enjoy them, they're not typically something that we serve. The kids like them.
These ones say that they're like a split chickpea. So I was kind of surprised by that, but they also had one of the dolls was a pigeon pea, a split pigeon pea, which, you know, like
I remember pigeon peas.
Good old Caribbean pot Chris, that those were delicious. So I was like, ooh, maybe I can buy some split. So I didn't buy them this time. I shall buy them next time. But there were a whole bunch of different lentils and stuff. And as I've walked past that shelf many times and always wanted to buy different ones, but I haven't. And so I was pretty excited to see all the different options that were there once I kind of dug into it. So, so we'll see how this works out, and we'll have a delicious soup and toast.
Love it. Can't wait. Hey listener, if you're like us and you're not all that familiar with shopping for and cooking with lentils and other pulses, well, you're in for a treat. We have a guest coming up on the podcast. Her name is Deborah McLennan. She is the food and nutrition coordinator with the Alberta Pulse Growers. She teaches us so much about how to shop for and cook with and bake with pulses of all kinds. We have some great recipes in that episode as well to help you introduce more pulses into your diet. You're going to love it. Be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. It's coming out on April 16th. Okay, back to the show.
So how was your lunch yesterday, Heather?
Oh, it was very good.
Oh, good. So this had a whole bunch of working parts in it that kind of all just came together at the end. So I'm going to try and explain how I made this soup and toast, which, I mean, that sounds easy, right?
Yeah.
So that it all comes together at the same time. I'm going to start with a yellow dal soup that had spinach and chilies in it. So we learned this when we've cooked other Indian or East Asian dishes before, when Sarah was on the podcast with us, that you really have to have all your stuff prepped and ready so that you can just toss it right into your pot that's cooking.
Yeah,
like or else you get behind on stuff. And I'm very happy to let you know that I found really expensive shallots at the store last week, but then I went to go grab some stuff at our Safeway near here, and they had bulk ones. So I was able to pick up just a couple and not pay through my nose. I'm sure they were just as expensive, but I only had to buy two instead of like the case.
Why are they so expensive? It's just an onion.
I don't know.
It's got to be cheap enough to grow. Like, it amazes me how much these things cost. Like,
I don't know. Leeks have been very expensive as of recent. I just went through my garden onions, so I haven't been able to. That was my question.
I was just going to ask you, how long do they last you?
They made it till last week.
Oh,
so I have to buy onions this week. So I don't know what that's going to look like.
You know what? I buy onions like all the time, and I never look at the price of them because I just buy your typical, the big white or brown skin onions. But I don't pay attention. Some things, I have to say, I don't pay attention to the price because
you gotta have an onion,
right? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So I'll have to keep an eye on the price of onions, but I have noticed like other onions have been expensive. So anyway, I got my 2 shallots, got them thinly sliced, along with 2 cloves of garlic and 1 teaspoon of finely grated ginger. Not a thumb, not a knob.
Nice.
Just a teaspoon. Isn't that great? Okay, so you want to get those 3 things prepped and ready and put them in a bowl. It says 2 long, fresh green chilies. I use the Anaheim peppers, so they're really long peppers. So I sliced it in half and then sliced it into little
Slices.
sliced it into slices. I feel like I've said sliced. It's not a word anymore. And then you want to weigh out your yellow lentils. And it was 200 grams of that. And then you want to rinse them until the water comes out clear. And then once those are good, set them aside because you want all these things ready to go in your pot when it's go time. Because when you're trying to rinse these lentils as quickly as possible and you smell things cooking on your stove,
especially garlic,
it can be a little bit panicky. That never happens to us as these experienced home cooks.
Oh, right. So you just rinsed the lentils, you didn't soak them.
No,
right?
These guys were not recommended to be soaked before this.
Okay, because I know sometimes with lentils, some recipes you soak in advance, and I don't always know when or why, but just
I'm so with you on that. I'm not really sure, but I think when they're whole, soaking them help them cook faster, but because these are split, they'll cook quicker because they're not the whole ones.
Oh, could be. Anybody listening who knows lots about lentils?
This is what I'm pulling out of my pretend land.
Okay, sure.
That's going to be my guess. All right. And then you also want to get your water or broth if you're using broth. I used a beef broth in this, but you can just as happily use a chicken broth or a vegetable broth or just water. So get your water ready too. So all of these things are now lined up on your counter and you can start making your soup. So in my medium saucepan, so you want to heat 2 tablespoons of olive oil and then add in a teaspoon of cumin seeds, a teaspoon of turmeric, and 3/4 teaspoon of chili flakes. Cook it on there for a couple minutes until it starts smelling really good and getting fragrant and it kind of pops and sizzles a little bit. And then you throw your shallots, garlic, ginger, and sliced green chilies. And you want to saute those until they are soft. And then you can add in your lentils. Again, saute it around until everything gets coated in oil and is, sizzling again. And then you can add your water or broth. And then you're kind of safe to step back from it for a while as the lentils cook and soften.
Okay.
It says 30 minutes or until lentils are soft and start to break down. I would say this took closer to an hour. And I think I still could have gone a little bit further if I wanted, because they still had a little bit they were kind of that in-between texture of being firm and soft.
Yes, I would agree.
So, I mean, you can cook this sort of to your desired doneness.
Right.
And then when you go to serve it, you can sprinkle on a couple more of these chilies and just stir in a few spinach leaves to let them wilt down. And then you've got your soup. I did add a little bit of salt to this because the recipe didn't have any salt in it. So I just kind of added some salt to taste.
Yeah, that's odd, isn't it? I mean, you don't often see recipes without salt, but then again, you could also just salt at the table.
That might be what people will do. And so once you've got this soup simmering away, you can start working on your toast that is going to accompany it. So I had made some sourdough bread the night before, so it was all fresh and ready to go. And if you want to dive into the crazy world of making sourdough bread,
join Erin.
You can go back and hear all the advice and information that Larry Harris gave us in our episode last year. And then we've got 3 Roma tomatoes. Instead of cutting them in half because they were so big and bulky and thick, I cut them into thirds, and you lay them down on a small baking sheet that's lined with parchment, and you sprinkle sumac on them, and you drizzle them with olive oil, and then you pop them into your oven for 30 minutes to roast. And while those were roasting, so I was able to make up a spread that had smashed garlic, plain yogurt, tahini, and lemon juice in it. You need an avocado. Did I mention that yet? All right. This is like a fancy zhuzhed up avocado toast because it's got all this great stuff on here. So half of an avocado, you're going to scoop out and smash and spread onto your toast. This is where I sprinkled on some salt and pepper because I like salt and pepper on my avocado toast. And then you spread on some of this yogurt tahini spread that I made. And then once those tomatoes roast up, you can just pop them out on top and your toast is ready to serve. That was all the stuff, right? Yes. Okay.
Whew, that was quite a lot.
It was all these little pieces that had to get done, and then it all came together pretty well. And so I served up this soup. I had this toast on the side, and this soup, it smelled so spicy and yummy and comforting. And then this toast was so creamy and thick, and ooh, I liked it so much.
So you brought to me, I love food delivery day. I mean, it's like my favorite.
Food delivery day is the best day.
When I know Erin is making something for the podcast and I know it's coming my way, I'm like, ooh, just waiting.
Come on, come on.
So I got this nice bag full of, it was like having takeout delivered to my door, except I did have to do some assembly and reheating. So I warmed up the soup in a pot, and while it was sort of warming up on my stove, I did the toast. I did the 2 pieces of toast. My husband had one and I had the other, but I didn't share the soup. I had all the soup myself. And made a nice big bowl of soup. I put all that spinach and all those peppers. I just piled it onto my soup bowl. So warm, and like, this is comfort food. Lentil soup is like comfort food, I would say. I did also agree it needed a little, I mean, you already had added salt to it, but I put some extra salt and pepper on top. Yeah. I thought it needed a little bit. It's not spicy. There's nothing that's like any sharp, crazy flavor in it. It's like just well blended. And
I know soup is warm, but it just tasted like the flavors were warm. It was
what you mean. Yeah.
Such warm, cozy.
Yeah. And it's thick. There's not, at least in my bowl, there wasn't a lot of broth. So you really are, it's like having a bowl of lentils. It's somewhere between like a lentil dish and a lentil soup. It's kind of somewhere in the middle, which I really liked.
Oh, good.
Well balanced. And that toast, what a great combination. I liked it.
I wasn't sure because I tasted all these things individually and I was like,
A tahini spread like this on its own, it's not like you just want to dip crackers in it. You'd be like a little disappointed.
I think so, yeah.
I think it did blend well with the avocado and the tomato. Like all together, it was really good. I actually would say you could have done, you will not be surprised to hear me say, salted lemon instead of the lemon and a bit of salt in that spread. I think it would have given it more of a ping.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
If you, like us, have salted lemons in your fridge, or I always blend them up when they start to look a little soft, and I put them in the freezer. Yeah. And you can just take that pureed salted lemon and do it to taste and mix that in. I think it would have been a brighter flavor, and maybe a little less of the tahini can be really sharp, sort of. What's the flavor? What is the word I'm thinking of? It's like
it's a very distinctive flavor, and it really like it almost has like a bite to it or something that like, I think maybe the bitterness of it just like really attaches to your flavors if you don't.
And it can be very like overpowering, but I think preserved lemon would.
That's a really good idea.
I'm going to make it for sure and try it because I think it would be delicious.
So what does sumac taste like?
Okay, you know what? I forgot there was sumac in this until you just said it, and I didn't really notice it in this dish.
I think it just made the tomatoes taste, like you said, it's like an acidic thing. Like it almost like mimics when you're missing acid. I think it just made the tomatoes taste more like tomatoes. That's my determination on it.
Yeah, I have to say I didn't really notice it. It's not a strong seasoning.
No, that's what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
But I would say anytime I roast tomatoes, putting the sumac on there, it definitely like, I think it does something.
Like it doesn't stand out, but it makes a difference.
Yeah, like
maybe.
And I would salt my tomatoes next time because I feel like salt also does that, brings out the tomatoey flavor. So I think I would add more salt.
I like that they were roasted. Like we made toast. Remember we made different toasts when we had Sarah, the tea girl, on. We talked all about tea, and then we made toast to go with our tea.
Right, yes.
There's all kinds we looked at, I don't know, countless ridiculous ways of topping toast. Well, often you see like an avocado toast will have like a fresh tomato on top. I like that this was roasted. I thought that was a nice, different kind of tomato. Really good. I would make this soup and this toast again for sure.
Oh, yay.
That's
I'm
good.
glad that I thought this was a nice lunch. I've still got some soup left over, so I'm gonna have some today.
Nice. I think like you were talking about the doneness of the lentils to the point where you cooked it will make it a great leftover. Like when I reheated it, I think it was still fresh, like you had just made it.
Yes.
So I just warmed it. It didn't break down any further. But I think because it's been in your fridge and now you're going to reheat, I think you'll see a bit of a change to those lentils. Like if you had cooked it to the point where they're super broken down and soft, to reheat might be a little too much.
Yeah, yeah. This is almost one of those things that's better the next day. I have a feeling too. Like I think I'm going to put those in the pot, heat them up, put in a little bit of water to thin it a bit because they're going to suck some up because they've been sitting all night. And then I think I'll like it even more.
Yeah, I think so too.
And now for the fine print. For links to recipes and many other random things we talked about in this episode, check out the show notes or our website, www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Join us over on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok to see what we're cooking up next. And if you love the show, tell a friend. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. The watched lentil never softens.